Looks like it's Harrison. Harrison, how's it going?
Yeah, it's
How's it
Mr.
going?
Lindenfield.
Hey, I kind of want to talk about how Macaulay Culkin kind of plays into all this drama.
Thank you. Yes.
Go ahead. Did he read your mind?
So first of all, I want to say when Kappy came on the scene, I actually saw his first 4chan post, and he was going under the alias Honeycomb back then.
Oh wow.
This is back when the James Gunn stuff was dropping. So it kind of seemed like at the time that Isaac Kappy was trying to take the oxygen out of the room for the whole James Gunn, Dan Harmon, whoever Dan Harmon's friend thing, that whole incident. Now, James Gunn, I mean, it was found out beyond the tweets he held like pedophile-themed parties where he like dressed up as a priest and the girls dressed up as little girls. I actually went on the archive.is to his old blog and found a blog post where he's talking about how much he loved his old wife. I can't remember her name, little 4'11" Asian girl, and how like excited he was he could fit her inside pillowcases. He was like, she's so short she gets free coffee at McDonald's.
Whoa.
I might be able to drag that blog post back up, but so yeah, there's a lot of smoke there, and then there's a lot of crazy stuff coming out that did not get big. Like there was a producer that was connected with those guys, and I have like pictures. They're censored on my computer, but of him like having sex with a dog. Like there's crazy stuff. That was erupting out of that scene. So Isaac Kappy came out of nowhere and started talking about Seth Green and telling his story, and he really didn't have much to say about James Gunn. Now, on Macaulay Culkin, Isaac Kappy, at least in the first few months I was really following Isaac Kappy, and he was saying how he would hang out with Macaulay. He called him Mac, that's how familiar he was, and he was like, yeah, we used to play a game where we'd throw playing cards into a hat across the room. It was like the thing we did. And he like had nothing bad to say, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Macaulay was probably abused as a kid. You know, he was a kid in Hollywood." Now, this ties into, however, with the Vegan Mikey situation, because Vegan Mikey has some things to say about Macaulay Culkin's association with Voodoo Donuts. So right. Voodoo Donuts was associated with like the Pizzagate stuff back in like November 2016. On Vote, because they were looking at the child-sized coffins, and like apparently some people who used to work at Comet Ping Pong moved to Portland and started working at Voodoo Donuts, and there's like the pedophile symbol, yada yada yada. Anyway, so before the James Gunn stuff broke, I remember someone posted like Macaulay Culkin visited Voodoo Donuts, and they made a donut of his head, of his face, like just because he visited. So there's a relation there, and Vegan Mikey. He said there were 3 particular incidences where he witnessed like some kind of child trafficking that involved Voodoo Donuts. So the first 2, he said he was at the owner's house, and there's 2 owners. The first time, so Vegan Mikey said he was abused as a child in an SRA kind of environment, and he was like involved in like the like most dangerous game, kind of like child chases in forests and stuff like that as a child. So he just said he was like out at the bars, and he wound up just bar hopping until he got to the Voodoo Donuts owner's house, and he was like at the house, and they were just bringing kids back to the back room. Like he was at the bar, and he like just saw these kids, and he was like, "What are these kids doing here?" And I think Isaac Kappy actually has a similar story, like with Seth Green, like during a party, like a kid would just show up, and it was just kind of like a weird thing. Mm-hmm. So Big and Mikey didn't like really connect the dots until he went a second time, and he like saw it happen again. He got like very visibly angry and was like trying to fight people. And his friends took him out of the house. The third time, there was like, some sort of Voodoo Donuts sanctioned event, and Macaulay Culkin was there, and he was like acting kind of like an MC, and they like had all these like Girl Scouts or something, and like parading around. It's kind of like a fashion show thing, as far as I remember. And Vegan Mikey said he talked to Macaulay Culkin, and Macaulay Culkin could like recognize him most likely, just because of like the interaction they had. So Vegan Mikey can vouch that Macaulay Culkin was there and associated with the Voodoo Donuts people when there was a lot of children around. And I think it's interesting that even though Isaac Kappy would vouch for Macaulay Culkin not being an abuser, he also vouched for Vegan Mikey, who said he was an abuser.
Yeah, Mikey said he was an abuser, or seemed to be at least cool with it.
Yeah. So wait, Vegan Mikey confessed to actually being a child molester and or a child abuser?
No, he was not an abuser. No. He was abused.
Oh, I see. So, okay, thank you.
His first episode on Lift the Veil was deleted.
So the very first episode of Vegan Mikey has been pulled down then.
Oh,
Yeah,
pulled
and
down by
more at
Nathan.
least.
Oh, pulled down by
Stoppelman?
Stoppelman himself?
I think so. I think at the request of Vegan Mikey. I mean, maybe it's back up by now, but like this was like November or something. That's my recollection of these events.
So, Harrison, are you saying that you think maybe they brought Kappy out as a parallel distraction away from more hurtful and damaging information to them, and that like him
Yes.
and the Vegan Mikey thing is all the sleight of hand, kind of like we were talking about earlier?
I'm not sure. It seemed just like a limited hangout, right? Like it's like here's some verifiable information that is smaller in scope and doesn't like harm people. There's nothing. There's no there. There's no like profound evidence.
Right.
Right.
It's like a show. It's like a real show, but as opposed to what was coming out with like James Gunn and like the billion-dollar corporations, like some of the biggest media corporations on Earth, their reputation was on the line there. And this was also, I think, around the same time. What's that guy's name? He used to work at Nickelodeon. He's a producer. He got fired.
Dan
around the same
Harmon.
time. Not Dan Harmon. Schneider.
Thank
Dan
you.
Schneider.
Yeah, that's right. Schneider. Sorry, Dan Harmon, wherever you are, for dropping the wrong name there. Dan Schneider,
I mean,
yeah.
Harmon's
Dan
kind of a
Harmon's
creep
like,
anyway, so it's
he
alright.
did that weird, like, baby having sex with skit where, like, he couldn't stop having sex with that baby.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
And there was another guy. Oh, I remember the guy that was with the Jeepers Creepers crap that Tracy brought up that one show. Another
DeSalvo, yeah.
yeah, another notable pedophile in Hollywood, because they've put James Gunn back in position to direct the Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as I know. So these guys all get like it's just like a football player that has to take a month off because he got caught drinking and whoring. He's going to miss one game for a suspension, but then he's back in for the playoffs. They treat these Hollywood pedophile directors the same way.
Right. So there was a lot of stuff on the line that could have really gone sideways for some of the most important media industry, like Hollywood, Disney, all kinds of stuff was on the line. And Kappy comes out and really sidelines the entire investigation and kind of makes it about him.
And says things that, even if they happen to be true, are not verifiable and will make any media operation with any sizable audience fear a lawsuit. And so that may explain why Lift the Veil's video went down. And that explains why Alex Jones wanted to filter everything that Kappy had to say, because he didn't have any evidence. So it was just hearsay and it was wide open. It was just like Pizzagate, in that everything that Alex Jones said about Pizzagate was just his opinion. And then he ended up being threatened to the point where he basically bowed down and begged Alephantis to leave him alone.
Well, even farther, since then he said that was actually signs of his own psychoses. So he's taken it even farther. So it's as if it's not bad enough to bring something out that's pertinent and then recant because you're under legal and other kinds of threats. Then later to make it not just negative, but now beneficial to the other team, the other guys, because you come out and say, "Oh, it's because I was nuts," and so that paints all of us that want to have any reasonable degree of speculation as potentially nuts.
Also, some of the pedophiles he was naming off, there is some circumstantial evidence or beyond circumstantial evidence that they are in fact pedophiles, that they have been associated with child actors that have been abused and whatnot. But he never actually would provide that information, even though I have it saved on my computer right now. I could just pull it up. So in the Periscope streams, he would refuse to substantiate his claims, even though, as I said, those claims are substantiatable.
Wow.
Yes. So all very odd. And
That's a great point, Harrison.
There's some interesting stuff in Macaulay Culkin's tweets on the day that Kappy died too. And I have some of this in the later parts of the video that we were watching before. So I could tell you where if you want to cue it up at some point here. But basically, Macaulay was talking about dancing chickens, and he said it's National Dance Like a Chicken Day, and then some other people joined in the conversation and seemed to be all in on the inside joke. I was able to connect this to something that Crazy Days and Nights said about Isaac Kappy in September of last year, but they didn't name him. They just alluded to him, and they called him the dancing boy. And I think what this is referring to is this term called bakabazi, which means dancing boy. And it's a Afghanistani term for, a catamite, a male young boy sex slave. And they seem to be describing Isaac Kappy as that and kind of making fun of him and referred to, this is Crazy Days and Nights, okay, saying that that's the role he's going to play in the saga, as though he's an actor in a role here that's already been scripted. His role is the dancing boy. And when he dies, Macaulay Culkin tweets about the Dance Like a Chicken Day.
Wow.
And then there were some other people chiming in with chicken jokes and about chickens dying, and that showed a picture of a chicken and a bunch of snakes, which to me it would seem to be implying the cockatrice. But at any rate, so since chicken means boy, it seems to me like they're basically calling Isaac Kappy some kind of that he's like a victim also, that he's a whore basically for them.
Yeah.
And that he can they're telling him when to dance and how to play his role. That's how I took it.
Tracy, I want to hear your response on that, Harrison, but I want to say I thought it was really weird that CDAN, Crazy Days and Nights, they were pretty much coming out against Kappy in the stuff that I saw.
So was Open Secret, the people behind that movie. But people say that about them too, that they're shills.
Yeah, and Craig Sawyer, so it seems like we're seeing more and more hints that the main people that are coming out appearing to fight and allege that they're on the case and trying to do something about human sex trafficking, especially child sex trafficking. More and more, it looks like these are the actual employees and of the enemy themselves. These are the mercenaries and the other people that they've employed, the media personalities that they've put in position to try and limit their damage and control the narrative, and to put on something like a passion play of us seeing what we want to happen while it actually is continuing to be hidden and goes on behind the scenes anyway. That's what it looks like more and more.
Well put.
Yeah.
And we're all arguing about what the big distraction is. We're all arguing about what aspect of it is real, and which one of these guys is a shill. And everybody at this point who follows these subjects on the internet, on YouTube especially, has an opinion about all of those things regarding all of these personalities. And they're all saying it about each other too. So, and they're trying to get their audiences to take sides. Like, well, this person says this person's a shill, so you can't listen to that person ever because I know that's not true. That's what everybody's fighting about, but almost nobody disagrees that, these people who are being accused are likely guilty. Everybody seems to agree about that. So it's very strange.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was describing about my experience in the past. Same thing, everyone's hot on the trail of a real investigation. All of a sudden, the lead commentators and personalities that are covering it have some kind of a falling out, or an event happens, and all of the people participating as an audience all end up going off on the boards and arguing over who is or isn't a shill. The investigation gets left behind, and I think we're seeing it with our own eyes. I think Harrison's right that not only are we seeing it, we're trying to cover it, and instead of coming out tonight and covering wherever we left off before Kappy came in, we're here covering Isaac Kappy and his murder mystery.
You still there, Harrison?
Yes, I am. I wanted to talk a bit about some curious elements or curious things about Macaulay Culkin.
Please go ahead.
So he used to be in a Velvet Underground cover band called the Pizza Underground.
Yes.
And I actually almost went and saw one of his shows.
Wow.
It was near my house. So like I'm not sure if there's like spirals or anything in those videos, but there's lots of like just eating pizza and like pizza background stuff. He also, after that, and this is before the James Gunn stuff, he appeared on a couple different late night shows like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, multiple times to promote his website. I think it's called Bunny Ears.
Yes.
Do you know about this? So he'd wear bunny ears, and like some of the more crazy internet commentators, like Call for an Uprising or something, say that bunny ears are MK Ultra. I don't mean to say crazy. I'm just saying out there, like fringe. That bunny ears are like MK Ultra sex kitten programming. What do you call it?
Yeah, no, that's it. It's another role.
Yeah. But like what Bunny Ears is, he's like, it's a multimedia project, but it's basically just like a shitty blog that's like The Onion meets occultism. And it's like how to have occultic boys only summer camp. And like the articles aren't very funny. They're just more like, do you think it's funny to have like a picture of a Baphomet camp t-shirt? I don't know. It's very, very strange. And the fact that he would promote this kind of amateurish product on multiple late night show appearances really says something.
And is there anything that he's good at besides acting? Like, does he have you said he had a band.
What's
the product they're selling?
What was the last question, Tracy?
What product are they selling on the bunny ears? Are they selling T-shirts or something?
Yeah, I think they just have like cafe press style stuff, more or less, just like T-shirts, mugs, whatever.
I saw a video of his from a couple of years ago, I think, and it was just him in the shot, and he came out and sat down, and he had a paper sack, and he reached into it, and he pulls out a pizza slice, and eats the pizza slice in front of the camera, and then eats like half of another slice, and then sticks it back in the bag and wads it up and stands up and walks away. And
whoa,
it was just like 3 or 4 minutes of him just silently, awkwardly eating pizza. It was super weird.
I remember the title to the video was like a spoof on an Andy Warhol movie. So, and the Andy Warhol movie was like one of the ones where, it might have been the building one where there's just a building for several hours, a still shot. So I think he was kind of trying to spoof that.
Now, I'm really reading into this, and this is kind of reaching, but around like the, what do you call it? The height of the Donut Gate, if you want to call it that, saga, Macaulay Culkin appeared on a YouTube channel, The Angry Video Game Nerd. He's been around for a while, for like a Home Alone episode or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But so the start of the video, so Macaulay Culkin is dressed as a pizza delivery guy, and he hands the Angry Video Game Nerd a pizza, and then so the Angry Video Game Nerd says the line from Home Alone that's like, "Oh wow, a whole cheese pizza just for myself," and my mind was just like exploded.
Whoa. Yeah, no kidding. I want to remind everyone at this point that in the middle of the movie, what's the runway movie that's got Stiller and it's the
Zoolander.
Zoolander. Don't forget that his character gets caught in his office cheating on his diet and molesting a piece of pizza, and he's caught I think he's actually having sex with the physical slice of pizza. I had forgotten all about that, and I watched the movie not too long ago again, and I was just shocked to my bones that this reference keeps coming up again about cheese pizza.
Was it Dodgeball, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it was Dodgeball. You're right. It wasn't. It was Dodgeball. You're right. Because it was his team. He hits to take the bull by the horns metaphor, and he gets caught cheating on his diet and having sex with a piece of pizza.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's far out.
So that's, do you have more on Macaulay, Harrison?
I don't really. That's kind of the end of my material. I dreamed one day of telling my Satanist stories, but I might have to wait for another time.
Well, I heard a rumor that somebody was potentially going to some kind of commencement speech. Do you know anything about that?
Oh yeah. So I actually didn't wind up going to the Michael Bloomberg one because it was super hot and I couldn't make it. It was super early in the morning. So that's unfortunate. I did go to the Tim Cook one, and he is kind of weird. He spoke explicitly against the algorithm, so to speak, and was like supportive of not buying the hype and just kind of going your own way. Like he made these two things clear, but then he's like, if I will use the phrase, dog whistling heavily on things like climate change and like inclusivity and those sorts of like buzzwords. But he explicitly spoke against like algorithm prisons, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's far out. That's cool.
I guess Apple doesn't really drive an algorithm prison. Now that I think about it, it's mainly social networking sites, and Apple doesn't really do that. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that that seems like foreshadowing to me of the more future overarching idea of Antichrist. You know, that the beast potentially becomes the AI. So for them to start shouting it down now is just the active participation in that role of being against the beast. Which is, of all people, Tim Cook, that's weird. That's a really weird, that's an inversion of an inversion. So, but...
Right. And they want you to think that the apple is like the apple that fell on Newton's head, right? When obviously it's not.
No, yeah, it's the apple of
it's
temptation.
A different apple.
Yeah. It's got a bite out of it, and it's rainbow colored, so... Well, wow, thanks a lot for calling. We'd love to get you on here for a full episode again sometime. I think we'll go ahead and free up the line and see if anybody else wants to call. Folks, that's Harrison. Once again, he's Boomstick in the Discord. Come join us in the Discord, and this goes on all week behind your back. So,
good to see you guys.
Thanks, Harrison.
See you later.
All
Have you guys seen Party Monster?
Yeah, I've seen Party Monster. Have you seen it, Tracy?
I started watching it. I think I'm about 20 minutes into it, and I suddenly realized, oh, this is the role that Macaulay Culkin's been stuck in ever since.
Yeah. It's so true.
And
that's the way that character walks and the lisp that he has and everything. That's pretty much what I've seen of Macaulay Culkin, the way he acts, the way he does interviews and stuff, and he can't stop laughing at himself. It's really annoying. If you think we're bad guys, Macaulay Culkin is the worst.
Well, it was only one comment or two that we ever got complaining about our laughter. We really try to keep it away from like morning zoo type laughter here. But Macaulay Culkin gives me the I'm on either meth or MDMA vibe whenever I see him. He just looks absolutely strung out to the gills, like just intolerably strung out, and I agree that it stems from that movie. That movie and the whole true story behind it is tied into that
Michael Alec.
Yeah, Michael Alec's story. Michael Alec is out, and he's directly involved with that kid who's
Desmond is amazing.
Desmond is amazing, cross-dressing kid. Michael Alec is actually the one kicking it with that kid and like promoting him and like encouraging him, and it's just so utterly horrifying to me.
He was interviewing him right in front of a painting that said Rohypnol on it. It was like a...
Yeah,
and that kid, I don't know if you guys saw this footage, but that kid, Desmond is amazing, made a gesture pantomiming the use of ketamine. He pretended to snort ketamine off of his hand, and they're all like, oh my gosh, don't do that. We can't believe you're doing that. And it's like, he's being horribly abused as a child right in front of all of us. All the signs and symptoms are right there that they are just completely disrespecting that little kid, and no one's doing it. They're promoting it to us. It's just a horrifying, strange thing, the world, the way the media is.
You know that Seth Green did that ketamine snort off the back of his hand in the movie Party Monster. They were in a donut shop. It was where him and
a donut shop.
Him and Macaulay meet for the first time, and he's teaching Macaulay how to like sort of be a club kid, and he like does ketamine right in front of everybody in this donut shop, just right off the back of his hand, and it was the same gesture that the kid did. Desmond is amazing.
So tell me, because I only got 20 minutes into the movie and I don't know the history behind it. So tell me who this club owner is and why he's famous.
They were called club kids in I think the early 90s. There was like a group of party kids in New York, and they would kind of dress crazy. They would wear big costumes and live a pretty outrageous sort of drug-fueled, free love sort of lifestyle. And they would have parties all the time. And they kind of there was a bunch of like zines that were going around about the lifestyle, and they were on Donahue and stuff. They sort of got some fame and influenced a lot of people to move to New York and sort of live that party lifestyle. And this Michael Alec guy who was a promoter, he ended up he had a drug dealer that he owed a bunch of money to, and they got in a fight one day, and he ended up killing him, beating him up and killing him in a really violent way. Like, he knocked him out and then shot him up with Drano, and then left him in the bathtub in the bathroom for a couple of days, and then he got rid of the body, and he went around telling everybody, all of his friends, that he'd killed his friend Angel. He's like, "Oh, you guys haven't seen Angel? It's because I killed him," and nobody believed him because he was just sort of an outrageous guy, but he's
telling the truth.
He's telling the truth, yeah. And he ended up going to jail for a few years, but he's out now, and he does some sort of weird YouTube videos, and that's where Desmond is Amazing was hanging out with him. I guess Desmond's mother is sort of a big fan of Michael Alec's.
Yeah, we should look at some of those weird YouTube videos.
Yeah, we
see what's in there.
Wherever you guys want to go. I just had I had the number still. I just got it big on the screen so it's easier for people to see. We were talking about possibly going back to your video, Tracy, or we could do what you guys were just saying, and you can just instruct me, and I can Google it up. So whichever you guys want to do. Folks, the number's up there now. If you want to call, you can call. That'll interrupt us for a moment, but it looks like we're going to move on to reviewing some video here.
Yeah. Go ahead and skip ahead a little bit, maybe, and then play.
All right, let me get back
to
get back to Tracy's video here.
So in the movie Party Monster, there was a club owner that was sort of bankrolling Michael Alec, and Michael Alec was a promoter for his club, and he had one eye. He had one eye, and then he sort of had he was like sort of a sugar daddy for Michael Alec, paying him to be a club promoter. And there's a part in the movie where it was like Christmas, and he showed up for a party at Michael Alec's apartment, and he brought a huge grandfather clock as a Christmas present. I just thought it was an odd thing, but
it is odd.
Sort of Kronos.
Yeah.
Yeah, delivering Saturn. Exactly. So how far ahead do you think you are?
F. There's a real meaning there too. And okay, so I would say skip to 901.
Okay.
Okay, the grandfather clock thing. I need to watch the movie some more. It's in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So I need to watch this and see the context. But my instinct right away is to think this connects to this one motif that I've noticed. It's in Three Penny Opera, or at least in the movie that they made of it in the 30s. And then it's also in Poor Devil, which is they only made one episode, a pilot episode. It's the show that Sammy Davis Jr. was in, and it was supposed to be a series, but this was the first episode. So it's all about a guy that sells his soul to the devil, and and there's Sammy Davis plays the demon that induces this guy to sell his soul to the devil. But so in Threepenny Opera, there's an incident where someone's walking around with a clock that he's stolen. A member of the Mackie Messer gang has stolen a grandfather clock as part of. I remember what it was Mackie Messer's gang went to a furniture store, and robbed it so that they could have furnishings for the wedding that they did with, I think it was Suki Tawdry or Polly Peachum is the the female love interest in that story. So anyway, so there's this motif of this guy has a grandfather clock actually strapped to his back.
Wow.
And he brings it, as booty that has been stolen from the store, and as a decoration for the wedding.
So
that's
in Threepenny Opera?
Yes, it's in Threepenny Opera, and then they repeat the thing in Poor Devil, the show that had Sammy Davis Jr. in it, where in that show, the guy that sells his soul to the devil works for a department store. And one of the things he wants to do is to get back at the department store for not promoting him and not taking care of him well enough as an employee. So he has this, since he sold his soul to the devil, he has this little demon, Sammy Davis, who has to do his bidding, just like Mephistopheles had to do for Faustus. Mm-hmm. So he tells Sammy Davis that he wants to organize a gang of people to steal all of the stuff from this department store, so that when they open up in the morning, none of their inventory will be there. And so Sammy Davis has to organize this gang, which he does by organizing all the other people in town. This takes place in San Francisco, where the real Church of Satan actually was at that time, which Sammy Davis was a member of at that time. And they even make a joke about it and a reference to it in the show. So anyway,
in the pilot, they joke about him being a member of the Church of Satan?
They make a joke about it. They make a joke about Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan being in San Francisco, and that's where this show takes place. That's
weird.
So anyway, so the way that Sammy Davis gets a gang of people to help clean out this department store overnight from its furniture is that he organizes all the other people in town who have sold their soul to the devil, and they all have to come and help with this thing. So they do that, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's like they, for some reason, they bring it all to the top of a building, and they use they use a helicopter to get all the stuff from the top of the building to this other location where they're hiding it. But they make a point of the grandfather clock, and that's like one of the last things that's stolen, and they make a big deal about it. So it stuck in my mind when I saw Poor Devil, this thing about the grandfather clock, and then when I finally saw the 1930s German version of Threepenny Opera, the motif was there too. So I just thought, okay, this means something. Stealing the grandfather clock, and it's related to Mackie Messer, Mac the Knife. And, now it's showing up in the Party Monster movie with Macaulay Culkin in it, who calls himself Mac.
Wow. Yeah, and it was given to him by the club owner who had one eye. He was wearing an eye patch because one of his eyes he lost, and they never said how. And the club...
Just like Sammy Davis.
Yes, yeah.
It's part of the motif, that missing eye.
And the club owner never made any money running it. He was always losing money, and it was in an old church.
That they stole it? Did they steal it?
He never says where he got the clock from. It's just it's totally out of place because it's like 80s style decor in the whole movie, and then there's this like old
traditional classic grandfather clock.
Clock.
So they kind of even had a hard time squeezing it into the movie. It sounds like it didn't quite fit with their Like it's something, it's part of the ritual or part of the script that has to be in there.
Yeah, it was a Christmas Day present.
I encourage people to dig farther into the symbolism of the grandfather clock. Please, if you're in the Discord, join us all in searching this week for these connections. Because this, if you haven't followed Tracy's work up to this point about Mac the Knife, Mickey's Moose, Mac the Knife, you really gotta go. You got to go see that stuff to understand why we're all kind of in a WTF wow moment right now. It's like this is a big deal. It's kind of a big deal to tie this stuff together.
Yeah, guys, if you go to plusultraclub.com and join Plus Ultra, you get to read the whole essay, which was really a book-length essay called The Secret of Minnie's Moose. And then there's several episodes of, I think, really a couple of hours at this point of well-edited documentary material following along with what is in the book, explaining this nexus of symbolism having to do with Mickey Mouse and Mac the Knife and Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr., the Church of Satan, Charles Manson, and a number of other connected things. It
Macaulay
all
Culkin,
named after Rosemary's Baby. Yeah.
I said, and now Macaulay Culkin. And the whole, so it's tying into the current events that we're looking at also tonight. So that's the mind-blowing thing to me.